Good evening. Welcome to the Kent City Council meeting for February 4th, 2020. If you could all rise and join me in the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kim, could you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor Ralph.
Here.
Council President Troutner.
Here.
Councilmember Boyce.
Here.
Councilmember Fincher.
Here.
Councilmember Kaur.
Here.
Councilmember Larmer.
Here.
Councilmember Michaud. Here. Councilmember Thomas.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on, the next item is agenda approval. Are there any changes from council members or staff to the agenda this evening? All right, seeing none, a motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion stands as printed. All right, public communications. So we've got some good things happening tonight under public communications and public recognition. We'll start with our employee of the month. So every month, the employees of the City of Kent get together and nominate one of their peers that is doing exceptional work in their day-to-day job or in special projects or both. And it's quite an honor to be nominated by the folks that you work with because of the work that you're doing. So our February 2020 Employee of the Month is Kyle Bomer, sitting here in the front row. Right, good, you can absolutely clap. Kyle was originally hired April 16th, 2013 as a printing technician in the multimedia division of IT. On June 5th, 2018, his position was reclassed to a printing multimedia coordination position. He is responsible for the daily operations of the city's digital copiers and related print shop equipment to produce a variety of printed copied materials, performing video, cable, and design and production graphic duties for the city in accordance with multimedia standards and the city's communication plan. So a lot of the work that you see around, Kyle has a play in. So wanted to say congratulations, Kyle, and I see that we've got Mike Carrington, our IT director, up here to say a few words.
Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council President, council members. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to say just a few words of praise, gratitude, and appreciation for Kyle, the February Employee of the Month. As the mayor stated, Kyle started with the city in 2013 as a part-time print technician, actually. That was in the multimedia division in the IT department. Patty Bell, as manager, and I were both participants in Kyle's interview process. And even at that time, we were actually very, very impressed with Kyle's energy, enthusiasm, and the strong desire that he exuded in his goals to not only contribute in a meaningful way to a team, but especially our community. I can honestly say during those early interactions with Kyle, it was obvious even back then he was going to be prideful in his work. He was going to contribute in a meaningful and unassuming way with his warm, easygoing demeanor, and take great pride, as he does today, in the contributions on behalf of the success of his customers, the employees that are the department colleagues that he interacts with. During his tenure with the city, Kyle has learned how to operate the two-color press. In our print shop, he's become a creative and critical contributor to the video side of the division especially. He's gone on to play a vital role in our broadcasts of our meetings, events, and nationally award-winning programming. I should note that Kyle promoted into our print shop coordinator position in 2018. He's done an outstanding job of not only running the in-house print shop, which, oh, by the way, receives nearly 2,000 service requests annually, but he also sees inventory, oversees inventory, and is often called upon to run our print press, as well as coordinating customer job requests along with their associated fulfillments. On a personal note, Kyle's a fellow car guy, so I really truly enjoy swapping stories with him, car stories. More often than not, I'm winning. Kyle's coming in second or third in his stories, or at least that's how I tend to reflect on the stories. And just swapping engine ideas with them. Kyle is a tried and true family member, as his witnessed by his beautiful family, who's here to share in our recognition and congratulations with Kyle, hashtag Girl Daddy Kyle. And so it's with great pride and gratitude that I congratulate you, Kyle, on being Kent's February Employee of the Month. Keep up the great work, and thank you, sir.
An opportunity to get you on this side of the camera is really good. I'm thinking we need one with the boots.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. It's always fun to celebrate the good work that's being done. Thank you, Kyle. We are going to move on in the agenda. We've got two proclamations this evening. The first one is the proclamation for Black History Month. It's long. I'm going to read it, but it's very important, so bear with me as I read through it. Whereas Kent residents of all backgrounds and experiences contribute to our city's rich cultural diversity, storied history, and promising future, and it is important to recognize the positive contributions to our society made by people of all heritage and races. And whereas African Americans have had a presence in the history of the Pacific Northwest since the Lewis and Clark expedition from 1805 and began settling in Washington state in the 1850s. The first major turning point in the migration of African American pioneers to the Northwest involved George W. Bush from Philadelphia, who was one of the leaders of the first organized party of settlers migrating to the Puget Sound and was a successful farmer in the 1840s. Bush established Bush Prairie, now known as the town of Tumwater. In the 1850s, there was George Winslow, a successful African-American businessman in Portland, who was one of the wealthiest African-Americans in Oregon and perhaps the Pacific Northwest. And whereas African-Americans have also played an important role in Kent, from the contributions and achievements to the first African-American settlers in Kent, William and Pauline Scott, who after the destruction of their business by the Great Seattle Fire in 1889, moved to Kent and ran a successful business leading to the ownership of over 160 acres in Kent, to the most recent contributions of Gwen Allen Karsten, president of the Kent Black Action Commission, an organization formed to give our African-American community a forum to come together on issues, and Kendrick Glover, Kent's Person of the Year in 2015, and president of Glover Empowerment Mentorship, an organization dedicated to serving and mentoring African American youth between the ages of 13 and 21. And many other African Americans have made important contributions to our country, including Martin Luther King Jr., our nation's greatest civil rights leader, Ida B. Wells, the renowned writer, teacher, women's suffragist, and anti-lynching crusader, Jackie Robinson and Earl Lloyd for the first African Americans to play Major League Baseball and the National Basketball Association, respectively, Thurgood Marshall, the first African American United States Supreme Court Justice, and Rosa Parks, whose famous decision to remain in her bus seat symbolized the spirit of the civil rights movement. Now therefore I, Dana Ralph, the mayor of the city of Kent, do hereby declare the month of February 2020 as Black History Month in the city of Kent and urge all residents to become more aware of the significance of African American history and the heritage of our nation and city.
Are you okay, Brett and I accept that?
I would love that.
Please.
I don't want to spin my chair around before you walk by. I got things out of order here, so I'm going to go back and do number 2. I went to the proclamations instead of the community arts support program funding. Gratefully, Council President Troutner here pointed that out to me. So not that it's not important, it's one of my favorite things. So we're going to go back to that, and then we'll come back to the proclamation. Rhonda Billerbeck, would you like to join us up here, please? Sorry about
Thank you.
that.
That's okay. I thought maybe you were just sparing me the not having to follow the sparkly pink boots.
Sparkly boots. Well, that was exactly the plan.
They always say in show business, never follow kids or animals, especially kids with pink
Sparkly boots.
Yeah, so my name is Rhonda Billerbeck. I'm the Cultural Programs Manager for the city and the staff liaison to the Kent Arts Commission. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here tonight to tell you just a little bit about the Arts Commission's Community Arts Support Program. This is an annual funding program that allows us to provide financial support to arts projects and artists and arts organizations that serve the general public in Kent. It's truly one of the Arts Commission's most rewarding programs that we work on throughout the year because it allows us to grow the arts and cultural community and expand audiences to folks far broader than we could reach with our own programs. For example, in 2019, 6 funded programs served more than 8,200 people of all ages and interest areas. And we do have many of our 2020 recipients here tonight, but before I recognize them, I want to take just a moment to thank our Kent Arts Commissioners. We have several Arts Commissioners here tonight, if they would stand up and give a little wave. The Arts Commission is made up of 14 volunteer citizens that are appointed by the mayor and confirmed, of course, by City Council, and they serve as advocates and advisors for the arts in Kent. They dedicate a lot of time and effort towards that, and our community is certainly better for it, so I thank them for that. And now I'd like to introduce our 2020 recipients of Community Arts Support Program funding. Like I said, we have 7 organizations that will receive funding this year for a wide range of projects that will benefit the community. So I'll introduce each recipient. They can come up and I'll give them a certificate. First, we have Rainier Youth Choirs, and Karen Fulmer is here to accept that award. They will use their funding to produce a summer choir day camp for kids in Kent. And they just recently opened their registration, and they already have 10 people registered that are all brand new participants, so it's very exciting. Thank you, Karen. Do you want them to stay up here for
Do a
photo, or?
picture at the end, that would be great.
Okay. Next, we have the Interurban Center for the Arts. Monica Tolis is here. They run a fantastic program that this funding will support, where they have parent volunteers that they train to go into classrooms and teach art lessons to kids. And it's been going on for many, many years, and we're very proud to support it. Rainier Chorale, Annette Bales is here. Rainier Chorale is one of our longtime resident arts producing organizations here in Kent. They'll put their funding towards their 2020 season, and particularly their wonderful holiday concert that they do in December.
And I have it on good word that our former council member Dennis Higgins is now a part of the Rainier Chorale.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So we're all going to have to go, and
For years that he was going to come sing with us.
now he's there.
We have an arts commissioner who's also a member, and she couldn't be here tonight because she said
She's at
she could
rehearsal.
not be late to rehearsal. We are funding a project by the Meeker Middle School PTSA. Christy Caravaglio is here. They are working with a professional artist that will work with kids to create artistic fish. They'll paint fishes, individual fish, that will go on a fence by the school for the school and the community to enjoy. The Kent International Festival is another recipient. Nancy and Dave Skipton. And the festival is May 30th this year, so it'll be here before we know it at the ShoWare Center. And then our last two, we're not able to send representatives tonight, but Kent Music for Life is an organization that takes old musical instruments and refurbishes them and then donates them to the Kent schools to be used by students who qualify for free or reduced lunches, students in need. And they told me today that they have already refurbished and donated 30 instruments this year, which is more than they did all of last year put together, so it's definitely a growing program in Kent. And then also the Kent Downtown Partnership, and we are funding their third Thursday Art Walks, which they're expanding this year, and those will happen in an increased capacity. They happen throughout the year, but they're going to do some special ones during the summer months, June through September, so we're funding those.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to have the group come and join us in the middle. We'll get a quick picture. That would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kent has a very long, rich history of supporting the arts in a multitude of ways. And the work that our Arts Commission does to help make sure that that tradition continues is, I'm very, very grateful for. And for so many of our residents stepping up and presenting, providing those programs, it's really important. So thank you. Okay, now that we're back on track, I have one more proclamation this evening, and it's for Children's Dental Health Month. Whereas our community futures depends to a large measure on the health of our children and families, and whereas sound oral health can be achieved in part through good dental habits learned early and reinforced throughout life, and whereas great oral health contributes to better nutrition, greater ability to concentrate, and improve school attendance, and whereas the City of Kent has demonstrated a strong commitment to all children in our community through many early childhood and school programs, and whereas National Children's Dental Health Month is celebrated each February in order to raise awareness for the importance of good oral health. Now, therefore, I, Dana Ralph, the Mayor of the City of Kent, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2020 to be Children's Dental Health Month. So make sure you remind everyone to get out and get your dental checkups done, especially our small kids. So, very important thing. All right. The next item on the agenda, we have some appointments and reappointments, and they will be, they are on the consent calendar for council's consideration. We have a reappointment to the Human Services Commission, and that's Mike Heinisch from Kent Youth and Family Services. This will be Mike's last year, as he's made it official that he's retiring at some point in 2020. Provided great service to the community, both through his role at Kent Youth and Family Services and on our Human Services Commission for many years. We have a new appointment, and that is Reverend Joyce Perry Moore. She is the Reverend at St. James Episcopal Church and has applied to be one of our faith partners on the Human Services Commission. So my ask for the council is that they confirm those appointments later on in the consent agenda. We also have two appointments to the Kent Bicycle Advisory Board. The first one is Connie Stolp, and the next one is Nick, and I'm looking to see Nick is here. And I do not, if you could just join us up here at the podium, I don't want to say your name wrong, so I would love it if you could say it for us.
It's Nick Shetty.
Thank you so much. Would you mind giving us just 2 sentences on why you would like to be a part of the Bicycle Advisory Board?
Well, for several years I've been working for REI, and that background was interested with bikes, and I want to give back to the community. So I left REI and joined Bloodworks. So I want to give back more to the community and give an example to my boys that it's also good to give back as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here and for your willingness to give back to the community. Our Bicycle Advisory Board provides very important input to our planners, Public Works Department, as well as our City Council on bicycle policy. And that's both for recreational as well as commuting. We've got a lot of commuters on bicycle in the City of Kent, so making sure that we're meeting the needs for all of those folks is really important. So thank you so much, and thank you for being here this evening. Okay, moving on in the agenda to community events, Council President Troutner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to share some of the things that are happening in the next couple weeks at the Acesso Shower Center. Tonight, they have a sold-out crowd that will be watching K-pop supergroup. The Tacoma Stars play California Express this Friday, February 7th. The Seattle Thunderbirds have a couple games coming up. February 8th, they play the Everett Silvertips. And on February 9th, they play Prince George. And Tacoma native Joe Coy, who's a comedian, is returning February 16th and February 17th to the Acesso Shower Center. So if you haven't got your tickets for that, be sure to get them. The WHL and NHL are hosting their inaugural U.S. Challenge Cup at Acesso Shower Center February 20th to 23rd, and this tournament is free to the public to watch. We have Toby Mack, who is a Christian artist. He will perform on February 28th. And currently, there are only a few tickets left. So if you were considering going to this show, make sure you get those tickets. And then the Seattle U men's basketball final 2019-2020 season game will be at the Shower Center on March 7th against Kansas City. Thank you.
Councilmember Fincher.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 2 Spotlight Series shows coming up. We have the Seattle Rock Orchestra doing Beach Boy music, Pet Sounds, this coming Saturday. And then at the end of the month, we have Carlene Carter, who's going to be there. And that does not end the series. There is more. So check out our city website, and you can find out more about who is playing for our Spotlight Series. Dance, music, both through there. And then on the 13th, that's Thursday of next week, we have Vishnavit Singh, who is the Sikh Captain America. Sikh is an S-I-K-H, Sikh Captain America. That's going to be part of our Equity and Inclusion Series, speaker series. It's going to be at Kent Memorial Park, 7 o'clock, and that is Thursday of next week. Hope to see you there.
Thank you. Right. The next item on our agenda is reports from council and staff. Every one of your council members serves on committees outside of their normal duties here in our council chambers, representing the city of Kent at regional committees, making sure that our voice is heard. It's really important that we are at that table. We talk about must be present to win. And so if we're not part of that conversation, then funding, policy, all those things don't happen in the way that we, as a council, believe is important for our community. So I'm very grateful for the work that all of our council members do on that front. I will start this evening with a report for the last couple of weeks. So spent a lot of time at Puget Sound Regional Council over the last 2 weeks. I serve on both the Operations Committee, the Executive Board, and the Transportation Policy Board. At the Executive Board, we approved the policy framework for the next round of federal grants. Kent has been very successful over the years in receiving that federal money through Puget Sound Regional Council for road construction projects, generally preservation we've been very fortunate in. So we approved that framework as that next cycle is coming up. They also hosted a full-day workshop for new elected officials in the region. Our own Councilmember Michaud was in attendance at that event. I was part of a panel with the Pierce County and Snohomish County executives, as well as the mayor of Paulsbo, and just passing on advice to our newly elected. So it was really nice to see Zandria at that event. I've made several trips to Olympia in the last few days, and we'll be going actually again tomorrow. I've been down to testify on the importance of our 509 project, our streamlined sales tax mitigation. You've all heard us talk about the importance of figuring out how do we make up for that sales tax money that was taken from Kent nearly 10 years ago. I was down this morning testifying on, there's a proposal, you may have seen it in the news, about a head tax that would be only for King County employers that have employees that make $150,000 a year or more. Went down with the mayor of Auburn, and our biggest concern is that none of the cities outside of Seattle were invited to the conversation in putting that piece of legislation together. There are 38 other cities in King County, so that's pretty disproportional when you have one city involved and not the rest. So that was our ask, was that they include us in that conversation. We also had a wonderful, very well-attended West Hill neighborhood meeting held by our police department last week, and I would say we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 West Hill neighbors, about a 2.5-hour-long meeting discussing concerns that they have on community safety, and I believe we came up with some good solutions and a plan going forward, so appreciate those neighbors coming out. Finally, we are kicking off our Kent 101 series tomorrow. So that is a civics academy. Anybody that's been interested in how your government works, we opened it up, had probably twice as many applicants as we had position or spots available. The class is limited. So the hope is we'll make it through this first round and then we will open it up again and do it a second time this year. I think that ends the report. Derek Matheson is not with us this evening, but his CAO report is in the packet. For those of you that want to look that up online, it is there, and council members have that in their materials. So with that, I will look to my right to Council President Troutner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We had a couple presentations during workshop today, and the first one was from Human Services on their strategic plan for 2020 and 2025. And the Human Services Strategic Plan provides a roadmap that identifies the city's strategic human service priorities over the next 5 years. And they will use this guide as they go through applications during the cycle for funding and approving agencies for those funds. Some of the things that we looked at, the City of Kent gathers their own data. They don't use an outside resource to do that. I feel like we're very lucky to have our Human Services team because they do work very hard on gathering that data and representing us in the region on the needs for not just our community and the residents of Kent, but the region as a whole. They talked about some of the different goals that they have and their vision for the city. And when you look at those goals, we're looking at priorities for our young children, starting, even before they start school. We're looking at providing our youth with healthy succession in school. There's a new priority area that focuses on older adults and helping them to thrive in our community, including some of the things that we're already doing: home repair, home care, transportation, and support services. One of the other goals is community members to feel safe and welcome and included. Individuals and families to have access to basic safety net services. Residents have opportunities to improve their economic condition. Residents can access resources to achieve quality physical and mental well-being. And that individuals have access to homeless prevention, housing assistance, and that we create an engaging and informed community regarding homelessness and homeless solutions. So this is still in draft form, and we hope to see a final coming up very soon. We also had a presentation on the Acesso Showware, the contract that we looked at our last council meeting, and that will show up in other business, so I'm not going to go into that presentation. I sit on the Regional Law, Safety, and Justice Committee, and we met on January 23rd. The topic was reducing gun violence. We heard about gun responsibility and removing firearms from homes of abusers and domestic violence. We also talked about some of the statistics, and 75% of the gun deaths in Washington are caused from suicide. So it's very clear that we need to work on suicide prevention. We also heard a little bit from Dan Carew, who is our Senior Deputy Prosecuting Attorney. He talked a little bit about shots fired, and we saw this presentation last year back in public safety. And there's new data out. They're just not sharing much of that with us yet. So we're hoping to get more of that information to see where the trends are going in this past year. I sit on the Regional Transit Committee, and our next meeting is February 19th. And then lastly, last Tuesday, January 28th, the mayor, Derek Matheson, and Councilmember Corr and I participated in the Association of Washington Cities Action Days in Olympia. So we spent the day down there. We met with Representative Sullivan, Representative Gregerson, Representative Berquist, Representative Hudgens, Senator Hasagawa, Senator Doss, and Representative Orwell. So we had a very busy day. Don't get much time to talk with them, but during our bit of time that we got to sit down with them, we talked about our legislative priorities, including number one, our streamlined sales tax mitigation, transportation funding for 509, capital funding for Panther Lake Community Park, and capital funding for the Gateway to Kent. So we're hoping that some good things will come out of that, especially with streamlined sales tax. So, and that ends my report. We're going to hear from council members, and we're going to start down with Councilmember Michaud. Thank you.
I serve on the Regional Water Quality Board. Our February meeting got canceled, so my first meeting will be in March.
Thank you. Councilmember Kaur.
Thank you. My first meeting for Domestic Violence Initiative Regional Task Force will be on February 11th, and the other two meetings will be towards the end of the month, so I'll update in the second meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Larmer.
I will also have my reports next week. Aging and Disabilities Advisory Committee will be meeting next Friday, and then Affordable Housing for King County does not meet again until March. So,
Thank you. Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Madam President. I sit on the Sound City Association PIC meeting. Our first meeting is going to be on February 12th. So I also want to say for our pre-PIC meeting, we have what we call, we'll be having a meeting on PIC 101, how to be a good PIC member. And then on February 19th, we'll have an SCA dinner, and I think King County Executive Dowell Cosley will be the guest speaker there. That's on February 19th at the Renton Pavilion Center. Thank you.
And Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Madam President. I sit on the Puget Sound Regional Transit, Puget Sound Regional Fire Authority, and along with our President Troutner and Councilmember Boyce. And we had a very brief meeting in which we really only were able to elect our new officers, which included our former mayor from Covington, Margaret, and also our new vice president is our Tony Troutner. So that was about it. And we will meet again tomorrow night at 5:30 at Station 78, which is out in Covington.
Thank you. Councilmember Fincher.
Thank you, Madam President. Mental Illness and Drug Dependency Advisory Council. We had our meeting this past month, and we had a recap of the Regional Homeless Authority. So Leo Fleur came over and gave us a recap of that with the decisions and things that they found out. One of the big points was that in any sort of work that is going forward to try to solve the situations with homelessness, that racism and racial disproportionality plays a large part, so that has to be part of any discussion that takes place. Domestic violence and gender-based violence were also brought up, but did not come out in the top 5 causes for homelessness. We also had an update on the managed care system, and that's where we were bridging or putting together one-stop shopping. So instead of having to go one place for your mental health needs, another place for your physical health needs, it's supposed to be one place that you go, and merging those together, the point is to provide better care so that there's no wrong door that you're going to enter. Wherever you go, they're going to be able to take care of your needs. So some of the goals are to make sure that that is on demand, that we have the services available locally so that when people need help, that can happen. And we're also, and this is through MID, so also being reinstituted our Geriatric Regional Assessment Team. That has been defunct for a while. The services were provided by Evergreen, who decided that they couldn't do it, put out an RFP, no one answered, put it out again, and the services will now be provided by Sound Generations. So they will be doing all sorts of services in the person's home. So again, this is our geriatric population, trying to get people to be as healthy as they can be, meaning keeping them where they are, so making services so that people can age in place. And so psych consults, anything that they need will be provided there. with turnaround services of 1 to 5 days. So that takes care of Mid. King Conservation District has not met yet. The new schedule is coming out for our meetings this year. And I already mentioned Arts Commission during the announcement. So that is it for me.
Thank you. And Madam Mayor, that ends our reports. Thank you.
Thank you. As you can see, your council members are very busy at work representing Kent all the way around the region. All right, we will move on. Item number 6 is a public hearing. We do not have one this evening, so that brings us to item number 7, which is public comment. If you would like to provide public comment, we do ask that you sign in at the sheet at the front. We limit comments to 3 minutes. If when you come up, you could please state your name and city of residence for the record. Kim, can you please call our first speaker?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 3 people signed up to speak: Eileen Lampier, Dan Streifert, and Virginia Manning.
Good evening, Mayor Ralph and Council President Troutner, as well as the honorable council members. I'm Eileen Lampier. I am a lifetime resident of the city of Kent. I'm here to issue to you personally 2 invitations. One is to the Kent Museum. It's rather timely with the mayor. You did the proclamation for Black History Month. At the museum, we also have our Black History exhibit going on. And later on in February, we are also bringing a presentation and exhibit on the Buffalo Soldiers. In addition to the Black History Month, we also have the women's suffrage and our vintage Valentines on display. So kind of take you back. I'm also here to personally invite you to a very unique community event, and I believe each of you were given a copy of our flyer. And this is a rather unique community event. It involves the Kent Museum, it involves the White River and Puyallup Valley Japanese American Citizens League, as well as the Kent Lutheran Church with their Grand Organ Project and the White River Buddhist Temple. So on March 1st at 2 o'clock, we will be gathering together at the gathering place for the arts in the Kent Lutheran Church. And rather than me talk, I have a quick trailer to better explain this film.
What did you lose in 1942? A farm? Your business? Your home? Did you lose your youth? Did you lose your dignity? Did you lose your pride? Did you fight in the war? Did you watch your friends die? If you had a Japanese face, your lives would forever change because of our race.
Interrupt this program to bring you a special news bulletin. The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii by air.
People were just staring at us.
A date which will live in infamy.
You felt at the pit of your stomachs that something was going to be terribly wrong.
After Japan bombed Pearl Harbor and the FBI came in and were making all these sweeps and stuff, and a lot of my father's friends were taken away.
They picked him up very, very quickly. I mean, like within 3 hours.
There were no charges filed against us, no court trials.
It's very clear that what the U.S. did with 9066 was truly an injustice at a strike of a pen.
We could only take what we could carry.
It was just chaotic. What do you do with a household of furniture, and how do you decide what you're going to take with you?
And if you had a mortgage, you can't make the mortgage payment, you're going to get your property repossessed, you're going to get your car taken away.
I became, as a child, sort of ashamed of being Japanese.
They lived in a stable. I think she found that to be embarrassing and appalling.
They were then transported across the country. They ended up in Rohr, Arkansas. It was a swampland.
We went to Heart Mountain, Wyoming. That was our home for the duration of World War II.
The guards up on those towers really were a symbol of fear for me.
We had a lot of doubts about the validity of this mass exclusion without any due process rights.
If this country could take us Japanese Americans and have us forcibly be removed, take away all of our goods.
Don't take away my constitutional rights and then throw a few dollars at me and say everything's cool.
How the heck do you expect this country to apologize for that? And how are we going to get any kind of compensation?
The reason it's never been tried before is because it's impossible. You cannot win this fight.
And besides, you can't sue the government. Gee, that's really bad.
And the Nisei would look at the Sansei and say, can we really win this redress? Can we really get an apology?
Just the numbers would have told you we shouldn't do this. This is suicide.
And of course the answer at that time was, we don't know, but we have to try.
So I hope that short little trailer kind of then piqued your curiosity. This is probably one of the most comprehensive documentaries that has come out that goes from the December 7th at Pearl Harbor all the way through to today. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a very close issue for me. My college roommate's mother was sent to one of the camps back in North Dakota, and the walls were not really walls. They're just pieces of wood close together, wind blowing. Meanwhile, her husband is in Italy getting shot while he's fighting for us. And this is a really sad couple of years that our Americans went through, and it's embarrassing. I just wanted to add that postscript. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's an important conversation. We have several Japanese American family members that are living here today that were taken from here to the camps, and it's something that we don't talk about enough. I don't think our students know.
No.
And I appreciate all the work that's being done by the Historical Society and you, Eileen, for making sure that we know what happened so that it doesn't happen again.
Never forget.
Dan.
Yeah, my name is Dan Streifert, and I'm back. I was here a month ago asking for some help with Danielle Busick, and I'm just trying to get an update on what's going on.
So Danielle and I will be connecting this week. I told you I'd reach out to her after last time I talked. I did. She's got a lot on her plate currently with work going on with Rally in the Valley, but this has not been forgotten. In fact, when I saw you there, I emailed her this afternoon. So we should have an update here very shortly.
Okay, appreciate it. I know you're all very busy.
Has not gotten lost, I promise.
It's just what a climate seems to always get put on the back burner, and we really need to get going on this.
Agreed.
Again. Thank you.
Somebody's making music up here. Hi, I'm Virginia Manning. First, I want to thank the mayor for last week's meeting. I really enjoyed hearing everything at that meeting, especially about the homeless situation. My concern stems tonight to what I was hearing, what was going on in Sumas. I have relatives up there that one relative is now displaced out of her home. I'm wondering what we here in Kent are doing with our rivers and how many people are getting displaced and homeless because of our rivers.
With regards to
homeless, people ending up homeless, and where are we putting them? Because I know we've got a percentage of homelessness here in Kent. We talked about it at the meeting last week up on West Hill. My heart goes out to people. I know that at Thomas Jefferson High School that there's about, what was I told, 4 families that are homeless. That's in the TJ area. It could be up to Kent, down to Auburn, which is the boundary for TJ. And I just, my heart just goes out to people that become homeless. I was homeless for 2 weeks when I was in my early 20s. So I kind of have a inside knowledge of being homeless, but I wasn't really homeless because I found people to stay with. But I just think about what's going on in Sumas. How are we dealing with our rivers down here if we have a flood like they had up there?
Okay, so two separate issues. We do have comprehensive homelessness services through our Housing and Human Services Department, our Human Services Department. And then as far as flooding goes, we have been doing extensive work over the last probably decade to make sure that our levee system is complete so that we don't have any widespread flooding as a result of the Green River levels going up.
Yeah, because I remember in the mid-90s, we did have some flooding to where I couldn't get to East Hill to a friend's house because Central was totally flooded. And that's why I want to know what's going on in my community. So
if you've got specific questions regarding flooding, Tim Laporte is our Public Works Director, and he is in the back, and he can connect you with all of the things that the city is doing, work around prevention of flooding.
yeah, I can knock on wood. My particular house has never had flooding, but people over by Star Lake Elementary, their basements have flooded.
Yeah, so
But the
he would
district
be the
corrected that.
best resource for that.
But you hear what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
I want to be that advocate for my community of people, because we're all family.
Yep, Tim is right there in the back, and if you want to connect with him after the meeting, he would be a great resource.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Thomas.
Virginia, I wanted to understand. Go ahead. You can go back over the mic. I wanted.
My exercise?
No, I wanted to completely understand your concern. If I understood it right in the beginning, you were asking if any people were displaced or put into homelessness due to the rising Green River in this area. And then you expounded a little bit more by some others. But Tim, do we have any families that you know of that are zero, right? So far, so good. And that river is high this morning. I know it was really high. But so far, no one's been displaced.
I know last night I was talking to my aunt, and her daughter got displaced up in Sumas
Yeah.
with the Sumas River and the Nooksack.
Yeah, the Nooksack, yep.
And I thought my aunt would, because she's 1 block off of Main Street and 2 blocks from the border. And on the news, it was showing Main Street totally flooded. And I'm going, what's going on in our community?
We've got that under control. And like I said, if you've got specific questions, Tim would be a great resource for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kim, do we have any other speakers?
I have nobody else signed up to speak.
All right, so then that ends public comment. We will move on to the consent calendar. I'm sorry, Council President Troutner, you had something you wanted to add.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It looks like we have a couple civics students in the audience, so if you would like to, I invite you to come up to the podium. You can introduce yourself and just tell us what school you're from. You don't have to, but I just thought I would give you an opportunity if you wanted to come up and let us know where you're from.
I think it's from Kentwood.
Brave.
Just your name and your school and why you're here. It works great. Just come on up to the microphone. Yeah.
You guys want me to do it? I can do it for you.
Oh.
I can do it for you.
Hello. So I'm Arnold, and I go to Kentwood School, and we have this civic project where we had to go to community, be part of community, and yeah, that's all.
I'm Shahil Lal. I'm a Kentwood student. I'm a senior this year, so we had this project going on in civics class. So yeah, that's why I'm here today, participating. Thank you for your time.
Welcome.
You guys want a picture with the mayor?
Sure.
Thanks.
That would be great. Need proof, man.
Like Bill volunteers.
I think I can speak for the entire council, but we all very much appreciate the fact that the Kent School District has brought back civics over the last couple of years. It is important to learn about government, especially at the local level, because that is the government that impacts your day, your life every single day. And so want to say thank you to both of you for taking the time this evening to come out and just get an idea of what we do. And the hope is it's not the last time that we see you, that you come back, engage, interact, and find ways to be involved. So thank you very, very much. Okay, next is the consent calendar, item number 8. This is a compilation of work that the council has done at the committee of the whole meetings over the last couple of weeks. These are items that they've received presentation on, and there's been dialogue, and it has come out of that committee with no controversy. So with that, Council President Troutner, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve consent calendar items A through K.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, consent calendar passes. All right, item number 9, other business. We've got the amendment to the Showware Center Sales, Marketing, and Operations Agreement, and joining us is Kurt Hansen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council President, members of council. As Council President mentioned earlier, we discussed the amendment to the Showware Center Operations and Management Agreement earlier in workshop in pretty good detail. So I thought for the purposes of this presentation, I'd keep it kind of high level and really just talk about the changes with the amendment. So the amendment to the operating agreement would extend the term through December 31st, 2024. It would allow 2 additional 5-year extensions. Under the amendment, the annual base fee would stay the same as the previous contract, $145,624. But the agreement would provide for a new incentive fee structure. So that's really the big change with this amendment. The incentive fee structure changes to essentially remove a cap off of any operating revenues above $2.15 million on an annual basis. So the previous contract had the 20% incentive fee built in, but there was an incentive cap. It was capped at about $52,000. So this essentially removes the cap, allowing kind of a dual incentive for the contractor, in this case SMG. It's great for them because they are more incentivized to perform, get more out of the building. It's good for the city on our side of the contract because we want more revenue out of the building. So that's the bulk of the work. Happy to try and answer any questions if you have any, but again, we just came off workshop, so.
I don't see any questions. Councilmember Cord, do you have a motion?
Thank you. Mayor, I authorize the mayor to sign First Amendment to the Showware Center Sales, Marketing, and Operational Management Services Agreement, subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the Chief Administrative Officer and the City Attorney.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second? Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Boyce.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say that we brought this up 2 weeks ago at the council, and there was some concern from the council member who just really want to get an understanding of the contract, right? And I think I want to thank Tim Higgins for SMG, Kirk and his team really spending time to work with the council member to make sure they understand their numbers. I think everybody feel pretty good about how we are going forward, feel pretty good about what Mr. Higgins and his team is doing at SMG, and Kurt and your team as well, too. So I just want to say thank you for spending time and bringing council member up to date what's going on.
Okay. Councilmember Kaur.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you, Tim and Kurt, for answering the questions. I know we had concerns being newly elected since the contract with SMG, so I know some of my colleagues actually had the chance to tour Shower Center, and you were able to help them with that. Just for, looking at the numbers, number of events started 152 in 2009, and it's 214 in 2019. So we've seen an increase, and I hope we'll continue seeing that increase. And I think it's about time we did another economic benefit study, maybe using lodging tax money somehow, trying to figure that out. But it would be beneficial for the community to see how much revenue is generated by the local businesses because of Shower Center. I know we have some diehard T-Birds fans, and they love the building, and they love Shower, and so we want to make sure that we are doing what we can to keep this important piece of Kansas and the management company that started with. So hopefully you'll come back to the council maybe once a year to give your updates, and if we have any questions, so that'd be great. Thank you.
Councilmember Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This discussion a couple of weeks ago brought a lot of thinking on my part, and I'd like to ask Paula if you could answer the question, when was the last complete audit done? Do you know offhand? As you remember, I became a little concerned over some of the
Absolutely. Well, there's a couple of audits that are done. For one, each year, Showware there's an audit that is required as part of the Showware contract, and that audit is done once a year. It was done last year. We are waiting for this year to be completed.
Right.
In addition, the State Auditor's Office does come in and audit the city's books related to Showware on two fronts. The first one is from the city perspective, but then also from the PFD, the Public Facility District perspective. So they are looking at it there, and all of these audits are coming back clean, and they were done as of December 31, 2018.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Council President Troutner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just kind of echoing some of my colleagues, I want to thank Tim for spending the time with us. You go above and beyond. You're willing to meet with us. You're willing to answer our questions. And some of us did have questions, and you did a great job presenting all that information to us. Just a reminder, it was mentioned about the Thunderbirds. They do generate a lot of revenue for Showware. They also bring a lot of business to the city. So there are a lot of good things going on because we have this venue in our backyard. I hope that all of you will support me in moving this forward. So thank you.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. It looks like there's no additional discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Nice work. Thank you very much. Okay, we are moving on to item number 10, bids. Joining us is Tim Laporte, our Public Works Director for Meet Me on Meeker Sidewalk, Riverbend Driving Range improvements.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Your Public Works and Parks Departments, actually along with Economic and Community Development, all collaborated and produced this project, which we're very pleased to bring to you. This endeavor will include moving along with the Meet Me on Meeker work that I know you've heard about, particularly from Haley, who's been doing a phenomenal job steering this project, and she's been quite a catalyst for this project. So it's really a lot of fun to see what's happening out there. Again, this particular project is right there, which is going to be on the westerly end of Meeker Street, and this is looking straight down from bird's eye view, looking down at the Riverbend driving range. Staff, again, coordinated together, and we were able to get a $250,000 grant from the Transportation Improvement Board, which helped tremendously. And again, this is a picture from last August showing what it's looking like. So it's an incredible facelift that we have here on these two slides. So we're delighted to be able to bring you these bids. In addition to that, the parks needed to do some work on the driving range parking lot, and it's the same type of work. So we combined the effort and came up with this project. And I am delighted. I mean, we have not seen bids this good. If you look at the numbers in your packet, Icon was low at 2.3. The next four bids were all almost within just a few percentage points. So that shows a very good bid package, and we're delighted to recommend awarding this.
Okay,
I'm open for any questions.
Any questions for Tim? All right. With that, Councilmember Michaud, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mayor. Award the Meet Me on Meeker Sidewalk Riverbend Driving Range Improvements Project to Icon Materials in the amount of $2,305,304.28 and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the city attorney and public works director.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's exciting to see how Meeker is coming about. I does not feel like that long ago that we all were thinking that what an amazing opportunity, but it will never happen because we won't have the funding. And it has happened be combination of grants and private investment, completely different Meeker. So I'm really excited to see it. It is a beautiful gateway into the city of Canton, really does set the tone for what we want people to know about our city. So excited to see that move forward. No, I'm sorry, public comment is already ended. Thank you. We will, with that, number 11 is executive session. We do not have any this evening. And so with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.